Good morning or good afternoon, smart estate agents. My name is Chris Watkin, and I'm a property economist. And for the next 10 minutes, I'm just going to go through what's happening in the residential sales market and also the lettings market to give you an idea of where we are with regard to stats and things like that. First off, let's start off with what's happening in the residential sales market. Now, what we're noticing is in the property market, and I'll just pull this up now, is that the number of properties that are currently for sale, and this is identical across all the regions. The only region that's slightly different is London, is that the number of properties for sale at the moment are at a high level, but they're not anywhere near as high as they were in 2008, the global financial crash, where they were about 1.3 million. So yes, there are more properties for sale, but actually, what's actually happening is the number of properties that are selling has gone up. And I'll just show that to you now. Okay. So we'll just do that now. Hold on. There we go. So this is the UK residential net sales. And this shows you where we are in the market. So the white line is 2025. And we've had a slight dip in the last 2 weeks because of Easter. I know you're looking at this in May, in early May, but that will dip, that will rise again. And if you look, the white line compared to the average of 17 and 19 is slightly higher, and it is still higher than the yellow line at 2024. And to give you an idea, that the number of net sales year to date is at 318,000, which is 8% more than last year. So if your exchanges are not 8% more than last year, then you're not ahead of the market. If you're more, then you're doing better. And we're actually 13% higher than 17, 18 or 19. With regard to sales falling through on average about 5,000 a week, which works out that around 22%, 22.5% of properties are falling through when compared to the number of properties coming on the market. But I think a better judge of where we are in the market is how much of your sales pipeline is falling through, and on a monthly basis, about 5.75. Now, again, let's just look at sales pipelines, and sales pipelines are a lot healthier than they were pre-COVID, and you've got to admit that is a decent figure. Now, and these are numbers at the end of March going into early April. So overall, what we have is a situation where there's more properties coming onto the market, and I'll just show that to you now. So year to date, 587,000, which is 15% ahead of last year. The number of properties that, as I said, are then subsequently selling is at a higher level. Doesn't look like it there because of the Easter dip. And again, we always have an Easter dip. And that will bounce back up, and then she'll bounce around again when we have the bank holidays, and then it will slow drift down. But I think that's a better graph. That just shows you, ladies and gentlemen, that the gross sales are ahead of last year. And it's very surprising that we are almost identical to what we were in 2022, which is unheard of. It's not I mean, I know 22 wasn't as crazy as 21, but that's where the market is, okay? What is particularly interesting is and again, this is national, but this is relevant in all of your areas, is the average asking price of a property coming on the market is £465,000, but the average price of a property selling is 358. That doesn't mean that average properties are coming on the market at 454 and selling for 359. What that means is that the lower price properties have a greater chance of selling as opposed to the higher price properties. So how can you read that? Well, that means that you probably should be focusing on the lower to middle market, because that's where most of the sales are, and you'll actually get paid on the jobs you get paid for. Whilst the bigger price properties look good on your books, the chances of selling are much, much lower. And again, that just puts that into stark contrast there. This is the standalone week of week 16, which is the last week in April. So overall, I mean, again, how much of the properties are you selling? On average, we are selling nationally 1 in 6 houses of our properties on the market. 16.32 is 1 in 6. So if you're not selling 1 in 6 of the houses you've got on the books, then maybe you should be looking at your processes to improve that number. With regard to house prices, before I touch on that, this is absolutely shocking that for the last 18 months, UK estate agents have only been exchanging on 53 to 54% of the homes that they have been putting onto the market, which is absolutely shocking. And I think if there's one thing that you can do, guys and girls of Smart in the Resi sales department is take on the right properties at the right price, and you're more likely to get paid on them. There's plenty of estate agents out there that like the posh houses, looks good on their books, lovely photographs, coffee table stuff. But this is the big one: is how many houses? Do you actually know the percentage of houses that you actually end up selling and exchanging on? The way to work that out is look at what came off the books as a withdrawn, look at what came off your books as an exchange, and that's how you can work out the percentages. So in terms of house prices generally nationally are pretty static, and I like to use the pound per square foot figure, which is the orange line. Now, this number is up or down compared to where you are in the country, but fundamentally, that pound per square foot figure shows us is a better way to judge house prices. And you can see since 2022, we're there or thereabouts, about 4 or 5% ahead. Although, would it surprise you that since then we've had inflation in that time? So, in real terms, house prices are about 15% cheaper once you take into inflation. An important thing to consider. So overall, when it comes to the estate agents, is that listings are up, sales are up, fall throughs are about the same. So there are more listings and more sales, but the percentage of houses that we're selling are about the same. With regard to fees and overvaluing, I know a lot of you have been challenged with cheap fees and overvaluing. And in the second session, we are going to be looking at how you guys in the estate agency department can beat those sort of things. And we've also done some really big graphics for you, training sessions for you, especially you guys in Resi Sales, to beat that. Next, I want to move on to lettings. And interestingly, rents have grown. And in the Southwest, they have grown by a considerable amount, by 53%. Okay, so that, and again, I'll just show this to you now in terms of what actually rents have increased by in the Southwest. I'll just pull this up now. Here we go. So you can see here that the average rent's gone from around £913 all the way up to 1,397, which is a near 45% growth. That is above inflation. But interestingly, if you actually look at people's wages, it's still the same percentages. So they've gone up. I believe what's happened, and the stats back this up, is that you can see here that rents were not increasing for 4 or 5 years, whilst wages were increasing. And I think what was happened, and we've seen this around the country, is that people had more disposable income, which meant they could have greater affordability and move forward in terms of being able to pay more for their rents. The biggest challenge, though, that you guys and girls have in the rental department is on open rent. And I just need to share this with you. So I'll just pull this up now. And this is truly shocking, ladies and gentlemen, in terms of what I'm about to show you, because I don't know if you're aware, but I'll just show that to you now, is that the number of private rental properties in the UK has grown in the last few years. I know it doesn't feel that way, but it has grown. Obviously, it's not been growing at the same rate as it was in 07, 08, in through the teens, but it has been growing. So why does it feel like it's not growing? And the big one is open rent, ladies and gentlemen. That is the ultimate killer for estate agents at the moment. Okay, so let me just pull that up now. Hold on a second. Right, here we go. And I appreciate my 10 minutes is nearly up, but this is going to absolutely blow your mind, ladies and gentlemen. Hold on a second. Right then, hold on. So what we're looking at here, ladies and gentlemen, is the 1st of Jan 2020 to the April 2025. And this is the Southwest. And just look at the growth of open rent. It's gone from around 5% to nearer 15%. And in some locations, it's even higher. So the number of landlords in open rent has tripled. This is the bit that's going to screw your head up, though, because I'm a data scientist and I work alongside some other big data people. 51.2% of the homes that Open Rent have put onto the market in the last 2 years were previously on the market with high street letting agents. That is what's happened. They've not been losing listings. You rental properties, you've been losing it to Open Rent. And I'm going to talk to you in your sessions about how you can, in your breakout session, how you can retain landlords and attract new landlords to you. Be short and sharp. And then, as I said, I've done another big version, like a longer version for you guys at Smart, which you can do in your breakout, not in a few weeks' time after this session. So I hope that's been useful. Bottom line is this: residential sales, price is doing okay. Listings are growing. Sales are okay. But there's a lot of overvaluing, there's a lot of cheap fees, and how do you get called out to more valuations, and how do you convert more? We're going to do that in the breakout session. And then the second, with regard to the lettings, your biggest problem is Open Rent. What are you going to do to ensure that landlords don't leave you, and also you attract landlords to you? I hope that's been useful. Thank you very much for the attention, the way you've received it. This is Chris Watkin out, and I'll see you in a bit.